Okay, I have to say, this makes me so happy to see all of these familiar faces. I love it. See all my friends. Okay, welcome. It's another Friday morning. So nice. And it's been really fun to be in contact with many of you during this week and then get to come again together on Friday. So that's fun. Thanks for being here. I know you guys are all busy doing different things. Cadence, your library is lovely behind you there.
I'm sorry, this is not my library. This is a virtual background. It's just a picture of someone else's library.
It looks fun.
My kids put this up, so.
Oh, did they? That's where that came from. That's really cute. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I wonder what Emily's doing today. Yesterday was shucking corn all day long, I think. That was crazy. How fun, though. We had... Oh, she's making cookies now. There we go. We had fresh corn on the cob last night, and it was so yummy. 4 whole ears. As I watched you, all your bundles, and then Lindsay Watkins with her whole trailer, whatever that was, the bucket full of corn. That was awesome. Okay, well, welcome. It's good to see your faces. So ladies, we had a reading assignment this week and it was different. I hope you don't mind that I'm skipping. I had talked with Linnell earlier this week and I was saying, I feel like there's some other chapters, other things that maybe we should read. And she encouraged me to go ahead and do that, kind of decide by reading ahead and praying about it and finding the pages that seemed like they were the ones we were supposed to read. So I hope you enjoyed the reading this week. If there's anything that anybody would like to share from those 2 sections, that was Marlene's What I Wish for You, and then the Charles Kingsley message to boys and girls. So if anybody has anything they'd like to share, now is the time to do that. Let's discuss kind of what we read or what you learned from it or how it impacted your week or what you've been thinking about this week. So Ida, do you have some thoughts? Now I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Perfect.
No, I don't have any thoughts. Sorry.
All of that for no thoughts?
I mean, I have thoughts, but you know, I did not get a chance to read this, so.
Oh, no worries. No worries. And it is
I'm
that
skimming through
video. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm gonna mute myself now.
Okay, no worries. Lindsay Cardall, you started to unmute. So were you gonna share something? You're just coming on. Okay. All right, mamas. Any thoughts about the reading from this week? Any thoughts from your week? Cadence.
Well, I can share a paragraph that I really liked. This was in My Wish for You. Okay, so this was talking about when you sketch something from nature, when you follow a melody line in a piece of music, when you memorize a few lines from poetry you love, when you copy words that have touched your heart, when you see and feel a story so clearly that you can retell it, when you try and recreate the details of a work of fine art in your memory, you are bringing order to your internal world from the chaos and confusion of the outer world. These activities help you work towards stockpiling ideas with clarity and completeness of vision, which can then be arranged to good use. Okay, so I love this. This kind of made sense to me of why doing the arts, why the art and the poetry and the creative things that just are beautiful, why that makes us so happy is because it creates that inner, it brings order to the inner chaos. Even if everything else around is going crazy, that you can have that inside of you. I just love that. And I actually shared that with my husband this week. And I was telling him about, I don't remember where I saw it, about some prisoners that were in solitary confinement. I don't remember where I saw this. So, but they couldn't talk to each other, but they would tap through the walls and they'd tap stories or scriptures and poems or something like that. But those men who had something in there that they had memorized were the lifeline for these other men who were just, you know, in these horrible circumstances. I thought that was so beautiful. Let's see. Yes. Well, I could share more, but I'll let other people go.
Oh, that's fine. I love that. And I love that kind of builds on something that Marlene was saying somewhere about um, light, that we need things to be already inside of us, that they can be illuminated, you know, in different moments. And I loved that too. So I thought that was great. And if some of these things, you know, if you just took it in and it's something that now you know that some more of the things that were in the reading, but you don't necessarily have something to share, that's fine too. It might be that we're supposed to talk about something different today, and I love that. We start off with the reading, but then we go to whatever it is that we're supposed to be talking about today. So. Oh, we're discussing from the volume 1 pages. I can't remember. Hold on.
103 to 109.
Thank you. Yep, 103 to 109. So 2 messages. And the one is the introductory message, the video that is on the very first video on the Well Educated Heart site. And Marlene has suggested that we review those videos again. The introductory one, the kind of what it's all about, the library, the introduction to the libraries of hope. And I did that. It was great. It was just nice to be reminded again about this, what the foundation is and what is there for us.
It's so true. I mean, every time I watch this, I'm like, have I seen this before? Because this is all brand new to me again. And like, it means more the second, third, fourth, fifth time.
Yeah, totally agree, Cadence. I watched them again and I was like, wow, I must have missed that last time, but that was so profound. It's like, just like Marlene talks about layers, right? Like, it's like, if you don't have, if you see a roof, like if you think about it and like compare it to the analogy of building a house, right? If you see a roof, it's not going to mean anything unless you have your foundation built, right? But when you get ready to put the roof on, you're like, oh, look, there's a roof, right? It's like, there's the piece that I needed to finish this house. But before that, you're not ready for it. And so it doesn't stand out to you. And so it's like, as you see things again, you see them, your eyes are open more to understand their importance and like, oh yeah. And I was having those same feelings when I was watching the videos and stuff this last time. There was a thing that I was just reading that made me from the reading that I could share too, if that's okay. It's on page 107 of the part we were reading, and it says, there's only one way to improve the taste of a nation. It cannot be done in a hurry, and it cannot be done by force. It can only be accomplished by exposing the people patiently to that which is truly good, to that which is truly noble. Try and persuade our children to make good choices for themselves by exposing them just as much as possible to that which is true, a true product of divine inspiration and honest human craftsmanship. In the end, those able to see and look for themselves will then make the right decisions, and because they will do it of their own volition, it will be a lasting one. It made me, I guess that, like for me, Afghanistan has been on my heart a lot, and seeing the desperation of the people, you know, and how so many stories, you know. It's just so sad. But then also I really loved what Lindsay Watkins shared about mothers and the women, and you can see that just being able to have it, it wasn't a waste for the work that we did there, and the influence that was felt because of the women. They were able to have a taste of what freedom is, and they were able to have a taste of the light, you know. And that is, you can see, even in the desperation and the effort and the things that they're trying to do, that it's like it's impacted them, right? And so I think, you know, the work that we're doing is so important. And I don't know. I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer or anything, but I just was like thinking about that and realizing that Heavenly Father loves them, and he was, is, and was doing lots of work there just as he is here among all of us, right? All over the world. So that was something I was just thinking about.
Thanks, Ida, for sharing that. I think that's something that's been on all of our hearts lately. And our prayers can make a difference. And I think too, just the fact that we're online and there are things like this online and Well Educated Heart is available. You know, there are ways that people are reaching and accessing light and learning about the light that they could put into their lives, you know, that weren't available before. And I love that thought. I love knowing that that light now can reach all corners of the world. And we have an opportunity to share that light, an obligation to share that light, I think. Okay, other thoughts, and not necessarily on the reading, just what's on your mind. What's on your mind as you're reaching out, you know, getting ready to start this next school year, you know? Are you able to be calm? Are you able to approach this year with more of a minimal type of an attitude, or are you making yourself crazy trying to do it all? Where are you? Which camp are you in? How are you doing with that? I don't want any of you to be feeling overwhelmed. And that's easy to say, hard to do.
We're going camping.
Yeah, go ahead, Marie.
Hi, so I have a couple thoughts. So the video, and sorry, not showing things, the introductory video, the new one, I listened to it when it first came out, and I think it washed over me because I felt like I got all of that. But recently I shared Well Educated Heart with someone again, trying to encourage them to hop on. And so I listened to the introductory video to what she would hear, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. This has got everything. You should just listen to it. So anyway, just that thought, I thought it was just so lovely and so comprehensive, and it hit me in a different way because I was wanting to share it with somebody. And then for me, my preparation, I've been, Lindsay's on it. I've been doing a study group on a book called First Things First, and it is hitting me in ways to help focus my life and simplify my focus, because I do want everything. I'm not trying to do everything, but I don't want to ping pong to a bunch of good things and miss like the really important things. And so it's been wonderful to go through that book and just consider all the pieces of that. So I really recommend that one. I know it's hard to do one more thing, but that one more thing is really helpful to focus me where I can have the best impact and the best focus for where I want to end up at the end of my life and what kind of legacy I want to leave my children.
Oh, Marie, I'm glad you brought that up again, because I remember seeing your initial post inviting people to read that with you. And I remember at the time I couldn't do it. That's a Stephen Covey book. Is that right? I think that's right. That's what you had
Yeah,
said.
that's right.
Yeah. And so I'm glad you brought that up again. I think that's a great resource to remember is out there.
But I've just been impressed with the process because it's so fun to find eternal truths in everything. Yeah. And then when you do, you can receive so much more inspiration as you're just pondering on those too. So it's been a really fun process.
That your kids, you know, of course, would be aware that mom is studying, that mom's got a book that she's reading and discussing with other people. And that's such a great example for our children to see that. Which is, you know, there's so many reasons why this is for us first. You know, we're supposed to be studying. We're supposed to be nurturing our hearts first. And I don't know that you all see it, but I see it. Lindsay and I talk about it. Kristen and I have talked about it. And about how we see the impact that this nurturing of mom's hearts is making on you and on your families. And as we discussed last Friday, sometimes we're so close to it, we don't see it in our own lives, but we see it in other people's lives, you know. So if you notice that in each other's lives, it might be helpful to point those things out, you know, to share, to make sure, you know, you see the lessons, and there's a lot that comes out of saying, even though you feel like, okay, everybody's here, everybody's seeing it. Well, maybe not. So maybe you're seeing it and you have a chance to share with each of us, oh, well, I noticed that with so-and-so, you know, when they first started here, they, whatever, you know, but if there's some things you've noticed, please feel, and I would encourage you to share the things that you're noticing. And also, obviously, any other thoughts? What are you thinking? Lindsay Bunting? Sorry.
Well, I liked at the beginning of the reading, it talked about the difference in logo and rema. I don't know how to say those. And sorry, my kids are chasing me as I try to get away from them. And just like that, we fill, I think this was separate actually, we fill our storehouses full of like stories and good things so that they just kind of come out as needed, like as inspired. And I just thought of Ida's example she shared during the week where she saw that picture in the thrift store and she's like, oh, I've seen that before. It's because she had the book at home. And then her kids are like, what is this? Like, tell us more about this story. And then like, she was able to just read it. It just kind of like happens because it's stored up in there. So I think that's why we nurture our own hearts, so that those things come out when they're supposed to. Like we'll be prompted to share about a certain person we've learned about in a moment, like months down the road from when we learned about it.
Yeah, right. Well, if the Spirit brings all things to your remembrance, you know, when you need it, then anything you put in there, if there comes a moment that you could use that, especially if it's in teaching your children, then the Spirit's going to bring that to you so that you can bring that up. I loved that idea of illuminating the things that are already there, the things you put in there. Lindsay Cardone.
So I read something recently that kind of has not like left my mind because it's really, I don't know. So it says, if God expected you to get 36 hours worth of work done in a day, he would have given you 36 hours to do it. If you have more to do than time to do it in, the simple fact is this: some of what you are doing isn't on his agenda for you. And I'm the kind of person who always said like, oh, I just need 1 more hour in the day or 2 more hours in the day. I always just need like a little bit more time. There's never enough time. And then for me to read that, I'm like, oh, well, dang it. So then I've been trying to think like, well, what in my day isn't necessary? You know, what am I thinking is important that isn't, you know, as you to answer your question about like preparing for this next year. And
yeah.
And it just kind of struck me because I've always been that person like, oh, I could really use a 36-hour day. But now I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I do need to simplify. And like Mary was saying, like put first things first and don't worry about the rest.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, Lindsay. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's important for each one of us to remember that. And we also, we tend to beat ourselves up for not getting all those things done. And what if none of those things were on the list of what Heavenly Father expected us to do? I think a lot of times that's what it is, you know? Yeah.
And another thing that it said was like I'm definitely like in my planners also like a checklist, all these things that I need to do, you know? And it said like, don't make your to-do list before you plan out your time. First, you need to figure out how much time you have and then put things in it. And I was like, well, that's really interesting because I'm definitely like, I need to check that off, check this, check that, you know, and not worrying about like, do I have time for it all? Or, you know, is there time for this? Or is this important enough for my time? But yeah, so it's kind of like, what's the first things to put first? What's important enough to spend your time on, you know, not just like getting everything checked off.
Yeah, I love that. That's very, very wise. I was a big to-do list girl, and I'm getting away from that because it wasn't doing me any good. It wasn't serving me. Ida?
I loved your advice that you gave to just focus on 2 things. Like that's it. Like you don't need to add a million things into your schedule, because I was feeling really overwhelmed. Like I have all these things and honestly, I wasn't super stressed about my kids because I was like, they're going to be fine. And they are doing great, you know, like they don't need a ton of stuff and to add into their schedule or whatever. But like I was saying, it feels like there's a tidal wave, and if you don't like get to higher ground, you're going to get sucked away into it. And every September it feels the same to me. And so and my girls, because they're coming from like a public school situation and they want to be homeschooled, that I was worried about not having enough structure. So they feel like, because sometimes I know when I was a kid homeschooling, I felt like I wasn't getting anything done. It was hard because there wasn't a lot of structure. And so that made me feel anxious, like, well, am I learning the things that I should be learning, you know? And so I worry about them feeling that way too. But I realized it doesn't matter. Like I can focus on music and art. Those are things that they can do, even though they can't speak English. And they can do some writing in Bulgarian. And I have books in Bulgarian they can read. And then I'm like, and then the rest I can add in. If we need more, we can add in more. I don't have to worry about like overthinking it right now before I even know. So I'm like, I'm just focusing on art and music. That's it. That's it. That's all we're doing. And I was like, I just need to throw all the books away that are making me feel guilty that are sitting here behind me. And I'm like, what do I do with all these binders and things that I have collected? And a big, huge stack of them are books from my mom. She used to homeschool us. And she's like, I think you'll use these, you know, like they're her babies. Like, so she gave them to me. And now I'm like, I don't want them. I want to throw them away. But then I feel bad because I'm like, I know how much they mean to her. So I'm like, maybe I should just give them back to her. But then she might be offended too. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just maybe going to stick them in a closet somewhere. I don't know.
I love it. I love all of those thoughts. Thanks for sharing that, Ida. And I'm glad that you appreciated that advice. I just put it in the chat for those who didn't get it. But I really think that's a good way to start, is just with two subjects that you love that are easy for your family to do. Start with that, do that well, relax, and then move forward slowly, you know, as it, with the things that you really feel inspired to do. Rachel, you have your hand up. Look how polite Rachel is. Go ahead, Rachel.
Only because I'm in the middle of nowhere and I don't want you to have to listen to my car sounds. Can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
Is it all right? Okay. Just what I really liked what Lindsay was saying about wishing you had more time in the day, wishing you had more hours. And I had listened, Lindsay Watkins had shared a podcast. It's a lady named Emily, I think Emily P. Freeman, and she has a podcast called The Next Right Thing. It's not Emily Bell Freeman, it's Emily P. Freeman. And I don't get good enough service right now to look for, but I will post it. But it was so good about it was about organizing our time, and like people who are creative and like people who are very list oriented and kind of finding a middle ground. It was like the makers and anyway, I can't remember. But one of the things they talked about there was planning your free time first. And I love that because it's true. If I had a 36-hour day, I'd still fill it with doing all the things. I'd still fill it with, all the errands and the cooking and the cleaning and organizing. I'd fill it with all of that all the time. And we somehow think if we had more hours, we would have more time to do the things we really want to do. But I loved how she said, plan your free time first, make that a priority. And to me, that very much translated to doing those things that are very heartwarming and the things that will fill me first, because yeah, if not, it will never be a priority. It never just will have time. My life is just too busy for that. And I felt like it gave me permission to say, you know what, like, it doesn't even have to be much, but when have I ever just scheduled in and said, you know what, here's 30 days, here's 30 minutes for me, just for me, and then see what else happens and what else fills it up. So I really loved that.
I think that's so wise. That's really great counsel and advice, especially for moms who have a hard time doing that. I was going to ask if Kristen could share what she did this summer with her kids. So if you want to think about that, or are you able to do that? Do you mind with the playtime, versus work time? Just that shift. Oh, no, I can't hear you. You're unmuted. So, but I love that idea of planning that free time first, because we'll never get it. We always have a list of things that we're trying to do. And we don't schedule in that fun time, that extra time, that playtime. And Kristen, while you're looking just to see if you can figure that out, Marie, I know Marie was trying to say something. Marie, are you available now?
I am. I'm gonna have to show you where I'm at right now. So talking about first things and planning our time better. This is such a good example. Let me see if I can switch my camera. I don't know if I can. I don't think I can, but let me show you. This was underneath my sink and it's dripping and nasty, and I'm cleaning up this big mess because my child threw away a popsicle and missed the trash can. And so it's just such a good example when we're talking about our time. If we miss the mark, then we have other things that we're doing that isn't important, that it's a mess. And and so spending our time making sure that we do things the right way at the right time will help us avoid those messes.
I'm so sorry, but that is a really good object lesson, Marie. Thank you for sharing that. Kristen, any luck?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
My microphone, you can go into Zoom and your mic, it has a microphone level, and my microphone was turned all the way down.
Oh,
why would that have happened? I have no idea.
Okay.
So this summer I decided, because I always we always, have my kids they're just their regular cleaning jobs or whatever that they have that they do every day, and then we have a pretty big yard. So every day in the summer, we all go out together as a family and work in the yard early in the morning before it gets hot.
A really big garden is.
Yeah. And then they have to practice the piano, and we always do quiet time where is just I read out loud to everybody and then they read on their own. And so all those things take a few hours. And so usually we finish all that up about lunchtime. And then I would say to them, go outside and play. And at that point they say, it's really hot. We don't want to go out and play because it's hot. And they kind of have a good point. And so this year I've decided, okay, we'll go outside and work outside and get that done, because I'm a morning person. I love getting up early in the morning. So my children reap the benefits of their mother loving being a morning person. So I always get them up at about 7 and we go outside and work in the yard. So then we come in and eat breakfast and they have playtime until lunch. And I was very worried. I thought, okay, but then they're going to come in and they're going to feel like, well, we've been playing. It's going to be hard to get into working mode. But honestly, the opposite has happened, because they come in and they've been involved in things outside. So they come in and they say, okay, let's get our jobs done really fast so that we can go back outside and play some more. And they're choosing to go back out in the heat of the day and play. And they're not even complaining to me and saying it's too hot, because they were involved in things in the morning that then they want to go and continue after they get their chores done. It's really been a wonderful thing. And I'm actually kind of wondering, how am I going to keep this going even when it's not summertime? I'm not sure if I am or not, but I'm thinking about it. So
see, and I love that. And that was that started with a conversation about when Marlene was talking about perhaps putting play first before work, switching up things that we've always thought. And I am a work before play person every time. And so that was a very novel thought. And somehow Kristen and I had been chatting about that. And so she thought, well, she would try this. And it's just been really fun to hear about their summer, to hear about how great this has been and the great changes that have been made, and all of this wonderful play that they're engaging in, so much so that they're willing to get back out there because they want to continue it. There's something there that we need to learn. So we need to open our hearts and be open to, if even, I mean, that's just something we read from a book, but we read it from somebody that we trust, right? So you need to learn to trust the impressions that you receive, much more than that, right? But if you have this impression, sometimes do you just kind of, oh, that can't be right because that's so different than something I've always thought before. Do you ever have that happen with spiritual impressions? And maybe you kind of brush it away. It must not be because it's different from something that you know. Anyway, but just a thought. Ida?
I was doing that in 2 years ago now, I think. And I had read in this book, and I don't think it had anything to do with Well-Educated Heart because I hadn't heard about it yet. But I was sending my kids out to play for like a half an hour every morning before we started school. And it was like forced play. I'm like, go outside right now. Sometimes they're like, it's too cold. I'm like, don't care. Get some coats on. And so they would go outside, and they at first they kind of thought I was crazy, first of all, and they were like, what is going on? But it made a huge difference. And we were doing like a lot more like book work at the time. But I'd heard that it changes, like when I was reading about this, it like changes how you feel and helps your attitude and like your makes you feel happier just being out in nature, right? So I'm like, you can run, you can play, you can do whatever you want, just go outside. And they were so much happier and more settled when they would come in after that, and we'd start school. And even though I quit doing it because I was like, we're not even starting on school until like 11 o'clock. This is ridiculous. But it really made a difference. And I feel like I've been thinking about that same thing. Like maybe we should be doing these other things first, but then I'm like, but then maybe they won't want to do the things later that we are supposed to do. But it's true, like Kristen said, they did it, and they would actually do it faster, and then they were outside, like wanted to go back outside the rest of the day. So that is an impression that I need to be reminded of. Thanks for that.
Okay, just a reminder, about 1,000 hours outside. All of Jenny's stuff is such great support for you moms for getting your kids outside. And Charlotte Mason too, right? Her suggestions are kids need to be outside for like 5 to 6 hours a day. That's, moms, how much easier does that make your day? If your children are outside 5 to 6 hours a day. Kristen and I were talking, she was helping me, get back above water yesterday. And she was talking about how different moms talk about different ways, of parenting, and how like in the time that we grew up, our moms during the summertime, our moms would send us out after breakfast and see us at dinner time. And they weren't being bad moms, they didn't do all the activities with us. They didn't have all these planned things that they did with us all day long. And, so as moms, you can send your kids outside to play. And that's a gift that you're giving them. That's a beautiful thing, especially if you've got some little space, big or small, it doesn't matter, where they can go out and be imaginative, and they can just play. You haven't directed their play, it's just fun. And so I think we need to remember some foundational things and get some of the expectations. Remember, expectations a bad word. Get some of those expectations out of your head, and relax a little bit. Realize that Heavenly Father is actually gifting you time in your day to stay on top of things, to enrich your hearts, and to have a lot more enjoyment with your family. Your kids are going to be happier because they were outside playing and having these experiences. When you look at a person who, you look at a child who is stuck on their phone, is just glued to their phone or a screen or something, and like things are just getting sucked out of them. I feel like, and they just become this empty shell. Versus a child who's outside with sticks and leaves and, just running around like a crazy person, but having the time of their life, It's not a learning thing. It's not, it's just put them out in nature, put them out with or give them music, art, a great story, things that are going to enrich their lives, things that are going to make them happier people. And I'm going to the comments. We had a postage stamp size yard with a trampoline, and I was always shocked by how much they would explore and find interesting things in the yard, and learned all kinds of things about nature. So even in a small space, they can really learn so much and explore and see so much, just letting kids be kids. I love that. There's a book series that I have. I used it when we were doing school, but it's called One Square Yard. And it's 1 square yard pond, 1 square yard prairie, 1 square yard, your own backyard, seashore, whatever. And it just kind of shows you what you could see nature wise in 1 square yard of space in those, what do you call them, biospheres or whatever, but in those places, right? And that was really cool to me to think about. You're not putting them out in this boring space. Kids who haven't been outside, kids who haven't done this, at first, they do just sit out there, or, well, they actually are banging at the door, begging you to let them back in. I wouldn't know that from experience or anything. But then after a while, they start exploring and they start finding things and they start making up stories and they're playing. And who was sharing this? Who was talking about their daughter picking him up from somewhere, and they were talking in the car, they were make believe and everything on their way to something. I don't remember. One of you in the Marco Polo this last week. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to Laura, who has her hand raised, and then we'll keep going. Laura, and we love hearing from you. Hello.
Hi. I love that being outside. My 11-month-old, if you walk past the front door or the back door and don't take him out of it, he has a little meltdown. So it's funny how much they love to be outside. But I have loved and needed to hear everything that has been said so much. I just, technically school has started. And so I was feeling very overwhelmed with, what are we doing? So it was good to get that calming. But I have been, and every time I go to work on something, right now, my thing is family history and making this pioneer storybook for my kids. And so at first I was really kind of frustrated that my parents didn't share our pioneer heritage with us, that they never shared us these stories. But then I realized I know these stories because of Family Search and because of online. And so I have been so overwhelmed with gratitude for, we truly live in a time of harvest. The information that is out there for us to learn, we're gleaming from the things that have been planted. And I love that so much. There's so much out there for us to learn and grow. And so I love that I get to take this information in and then share it with my children, that my children get to have that heritage and know the stories that I didn't get to know growing up and have all these experiences. So,
Well, you probably have more of a passion now to share that with your children because you discovered it. And so,
yeah, for sure.
That's really, really cool. If you remind me, I'll share you a resource that I have from a mom who made pioneer storybooks for her kids, and they're just darling.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, Linnell, you came on screen. Did you come on screen because you have an opportunity to share, or are you just pausing in a beautiful place to listen?
I was just in the car and we got to the park, so I can sit down, and that was it. My kids are just playing. We found a park and it's just us, and it's a great park. My son just crossed the monkey bars. I'm so proud of him. It's amazing what they can learn at a park.
Yeah, I remember so many fun days at parks, and I was just there's a really fun park where Cassie lives. So any of you, when you go to visit Cassie, there are actually 2 parks that I love over there on the coast. So if you go do that, contact me and I'll tell you where they are. They're ones that we just think are so much fun. I love that. I love being at a park. I especially love when they have larger size, larger scale things, so that adults can play too. I love that. Anyway, I just think it's so much fun. I did the mud run some years ago which is one of those big marine, the Marines set it up and they have the big mud trenches and climbing over walls and under fences and, doing that whole crazy thing. But I loved it because I felt like a kid on a playground, So not the running part, but everything else was super fun, super hard. But but it was fun because at the end of that, my mom saved a recording of me, when I called her to tell her that I had completed it. And she was talking about the joy that was in my voice, that whole conversation as I was talking about what I had just completed. And I've thought since then that that's how your kids, when they come in and they're super excited to tell you about something, don't blow them off. Like, just stop what you're doing, put it down. It's going to take like maybe 5 minutes. You don't have 5 minutes. I mean, I remember feeling like that. Like, you don't understand. I'm getting the dishes done and then I've got to get dinner. Like, that is so much more important than your little story. But it's not to them. To them, they're so thrilled and they've got to tell you about the story and how it all happened and, and how great it was and all the stuff. And you need to take a moment, and let them tell you the story. And then you can turn around realizing that you are a rock star mom because you just gave your kid like 3 minutes, of your attention. So seriously, you can have just a few moments like that during your day. And it is one of the greatest things you can do for your children. Sorry, that was kind of a departure. Also, for any of you who watched the video yesterday, my lovely video, I don't know, okay, I have laughed so many times at that video because it was just so funny to me. I totally ate it on camera. But I'm fine. But I realized, like, I had just watched the funny part of me falling, and then, like, there was some serious concern about me. I was contacted by a couple of you, and I was like, maybe I need to watch that again. So I watched the end, and I thought I had the camera turned the other way. I'd forgotten it was turned on me as I'm going, oh, ow, ouch. And so, sorry. That was just the aftermath, when you first fall and everything hurts. Put ice on it. I'm feeling much better today. And anyway, Michael's gonna like edit it for me so I can send it to my other kids because I just think it's funny. Anyway, falling is funny. It's funny. It's okay. Laugh about it. And Lindsay cracked me up that she was just laughing, and her kids are like, oh, "Is Sister Cabot is okay?" Like, you have to really ask her if she's okay. Anyway, I'm fine. I'm good. Okay. Linnell and I have been Marco Poloing this week. This is Cadence about getting up at 5 a.m. I don't make it every morning, but it has been amazing, and I feel great when I do. It's been neat to see each other dealing with similar struggles with little kids. I have to go early, but it's been great. Oh, we love you so much. Poor Cadence, she's gone already, but that's wonderful. And that's not for everybody. And I didn't say it to make you all feel guilty if you're not getting up at 5, right? But if it spoke to you and you feel like, yeah, I probably need to do that, then it is going to be a blessing for you. It was such a blessing for me in the time that I did that. And I meant to share this with you, but again, not to make anybody feel bad, but my kids talk to me now about different stages, in their growing up times. And when I was getting up early and everything was already going before they got up, that was a more secure time for them. Like, they felt like their life was in order, like everything was right in their world because mom was on, like, in their minds, I was on top of things. I'm sure I felt just like you feel when you're just barely making it, you're barely staying on top of things, or you're not, or you feel like you're not staying on top of things. But for them, because I was up when they got up, it was just like magic. And when I was in bed when they got up, they felt like, oh, mom, oh, and it's funny now or interesting now to hear them talk about that difference. And I would never have, I guess, really thought about what a difference that could make with your kids. So I was just going to throw that out there. I mean, that's just my kids, 4 people, and their feelings about things. But I thought I'd share in case that was helpful to any of you other moms. Rachel, have a fabulous time with your kids. Sorry. Go ahead, Kristen.
No, sorry. I was just going to say that is another area where you have to follow the Spirit. And if the Spirit directs you to get up early in the morning, and and you do that, you will be blessed and helped to do it, and you will see the blessings. If that's not what you're supposed to do, then he'll direct you how you are supposed to do things, or, but I mean, and I'm one that gets up early. I get up at 5:30 every morning, but I've been directed to do that. And I don't tell people that to say, you should get up at 5:32, but to say, you should find out what the Spirit wants you to do, because it's been amazing for me, because that's what I was directed to do.
Right, right. And I thank you for pointing that out, because here's another thing. It could be the Spirit tells you, no, stay in bed, because when your children come and climb in bed with you in the morning, that's the magical time. That's the thing that they just love, and they get so much out of that. And so, yeah, thank you, Kristen. I forget sometimes, like I'll listen later and think, oh, you should have said this because it might be unclear. So I really appreciate that. You have to follow the Spirit for you. So yes, these stories are an example of, here, you have something happen. The Spirit tells you, you do that thing, not do what I did, but you follow the Spirit, and those blessings come, and you see, something that was perfect for your family, right? So yeah, thanks, Kristen. Okay, other thoughts? We've got 11 minutes. I love our format of an hour, by the way. Oh, and I was going to say, I normally don't wear a flower in my hair. This is today's my husband's birthday. I don't know how, but years ago we got in the habit of decorating everything tropical on his birthday just to make his stand out. So I have a box full of birthday decorations. And so early morning, when it's whoever's birthday, everybody else gets up and we decorate the house, and then in, some theme. And then we put a whiteboard out at the bottom of the stairs where you see it as you're coming down, that has whoever's birthday, some birthday message on it. And anyway, so today's Dad's. So we're all wearing Hawaiian stuff and decorated Hawaiian, and the boards all, anyway, tikis and everything. So I don't know. So that's, and then this bedroom just fits, the backdrop fits. So I'm feeling it today. Anyway. Okay, what other things? I just love that some of you are feeling more relaxed and not as stressed, and that some of you are seriously looking at this idea of just taking two things, just two subjects. Just start with that. Start with that and see where it goes. Because truly, your kids will find the other things. They really will. If you trust the process, if you trust the pattern of learning, they will find it for themselves. It's just scary, and you don't have anything to show to all the questioning people around you. So, but the more you get immersed in the Catch the Vision, like I was talking to you about Linnell sharing that idea of, it's like being converted. The Catch the Vision, that idea of catching the vision, is the same idea as being converted. Once that happens to you, the mom, then you can move forward. You start moving forward with a little bit more confidence and a little bit more of that trusting in the process, and it's freeing, but it's a process, and it's a layering. And so it's not like once you've caught the vision, now you're completely confident and you're never going to worry again, and you're never going to question yourself again. It's just that now you've taken hold. Okay, I am going to move forward on this path. This is what I'm going to do. But there's just layers and layers of learning and experiences to add to that. Hey, Melissa.
Hey, you're talking about just the concern about the language and just doing music and art and stuff. And last week we were at a family reunion, and my cousin shared a story about my third great grandfather that I hadn't heard before. He was, sorry, you can hear my kids probably. He was a surveyor in Utah. He was like the state surveyor from early on. Brigham Young sent him all over the state to do all sorts of stuff. But at one point he was asked to teach school in Manti, Utah. And he had encouraged them to invite the Indians to come to school too, in a love your neighbor kind of endeavor. And he only had one student, it sounded like, that came, that was an Indian student. but there had been some contention and some murders that had happened, and the student didn't come for a week, and then he came and the students were taunting him, really, really meanly taunting this student. And this teacher, his last name was Fox. He walked over to the student when the kids were out at recess, and the student just stayed inside and sat down. And the students were saying really mean things about the student, taunting just outside. And he sat down and he said, they're saying Indian, wicked Indian from outside. And he sat down and he said, they call me Fox. Because that was his name. And the student kind of lit up, and the student didn't engage at all. He sat in the corner on the floor drawing the entire class. He didn't engage in the learning at all. At the end of the day, he handed a slate to the teacher, and there was a picture that the student had drawn of a fox with a big bird, an eagle or a hawk above the fox. And that just really stuck out to the teacher, that the student had connected through art with him. And years later, he was surveying, and he had survey crews going around, and it was the Black Hawk Indian Wars. And they got surrounded by some Indian warriors, and they expected they were going to be murdered. And they were taken to the chief, the Black Hawk Indian chief, and he walked out and then had them all escorted into his teepee, and he grabbed his spear, and they were all just praying. They thought they were dead, this whole survey crew that my great-great-grandfather was leading. And the chief put the spear in the dirt and drew a picture of a fox and a black hawk, and then sent them away with an escort of his soldiers. And just that one moment stuck out for that chief, that little boy who became the Black Hawk Indian chief during the Black Hawk Indian Wars, to the point that he remembered his teacher, and through art, literally, that was it, through art, was able to create that connection. And I just think of the hand of God working on that, from you're going to be a surveyor to you're going to be a teacher in Manti to you're going to teach Indians to you're going to be surveying, and this is going to save your life. just connecting. And then my family read this story, and then they had an art competition about this story. They said, okay, we're going to have an art competition, draw anything you want about this story, and we're going to have a contest. We're going to have, I don't remember the prize, money prizes for first, second, third place.
20.
And my little 7-year-old won second place and got money drawing this beautiful art picture about this story about her fourth great grandfather. And so, yeah, just when I heard you talk about, the concerns about your girls and doing art and music, that's enough.
I love that. That's beautiful. That's such a great story. Very, very cool story. I love it. Okay, moms. Are you doing okay? Are you filling your hearts? Are you taking some time for yourselves? That's the harder thing to do as you start realizing, oh, school's upon us. It's time to get started with school. Don't forget, first thing is you, making time for you, making sure that you are nurturing your own heart. That is the key. And it's easy to forget when the focus is on, school's starting, school, So just a reminder from me. And if you ever need backup, if you ever need permission to not do so much, contact me. I'll definitely give it to you. I'll support you. I'll be your cheerleader in that. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and turn the time over to Linnell for our summary for today's discussion. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It's always lovely. Linnell.
It's very windy today, so if the wind overpowers my voice, let me know.
I think if you're talking directly, you're okay. I mean, it's still going to be windy, but you're fine.
Okay. Lori, you are such a good cheerleader. I appreciate you so much. So I'll definitely take you up on that. When I'm feeling discouraged and overwhelmed and I need someone to cheer me on, I'll be in touch with you and with anyone here, really. It's been wonderful to be in contact with Cadence as we've tried to work on this together. And if you guys remember, it was maybe like a month ago that Cadence was just coming home from her vacation, and she was really frustrated and overwhelmed and feeling discouraged. And it was Lori who said, well, what I did was I did this. And she was talking about waking up early. And so Cadence started that. And I have always wanted to do that, but I thought I couldn't. And so recently when I decided to start doing it, I reached out to Cadence and said, Cadence, I know you're trying to work on this. Can you help me out? Let's be accountability partners. Let's support each other. And she was up for it. And so every day we check in with each other. Nothing formal at all. It's just, this is how I'm doing. I'm really tired. This is how I'm dealing with it. This is how I failed today. This is something I did really good today. And so it's been wonderful to have her to help encourage me and for me to share, for us to share with each other. And so having this group of friends has been such a blessing to me. And reading the Catch the Vision course has been a blessing as well. One of these mornings this past week, I was reading in the early pages in the maybe the 90s or the 80s. So it was after last reading, but before this one. It's just in that chunk in between. And it's a poem that I read to myself. It touched my heart so deeply. And when my husband woke up, I read it to him. And in reading it to him, it brought me to tears. And that's because it's the power of a poem. A poem can reach the depths of a heart like no other can. And so the message of it really hit me deeply. It was, I think it was called A Mother's Heart. And it's talking about how you are enough. That what you have to offer and what you give to your children and who you are is enough for your child. And we can feel that confidence and we can feel that assurance. And so as I read the Catch the Vision, I feel that. My heart feels that. And then it encourages me throughout the day. I feel like today we've talked a little bit about managing time, about how to spend our time, about how to be really productive. And my sister in high school had a science teacher and she was having this conversation with her and she was my sister was saying, man, I don't know how people do it. Like all of these really amazing artists or musicians or all the really accomplished people, how do they do it? I just can't measure up to them. I can't be like them. I'm not good enough. And her very wise science teacher said, everyone has 24 hours. And my sister actually made that her email address is everyone has 24 hours at yahoo.com because she thought that was so profound. And she realized that, okay, if these people that I admire so much and that I look up to so much, in the same most valuable resource of time as I have, then I too can be just as amazing and wonderful. I can accomplish good things. I can be a wonderful, accomplished, amazing person, just like these people that I look up to. So that is our challenge and invitation to each of us to take that time that we have and use it the best way we can, make the best of it. And I wanted to read 3 questions that Marlene tells us. I'm going to read from the Catch the Vision. This is page 94. And she says, now I believe Common Core standards need frequent assessments. In fact, I recommend a daily test be administered to every parent. The same 3 test questions can be used each day. Question 1, today, what did I do to prepare my child's heart to be inspired? Question 2, today, what vision of great things did I give my child to hope for? And question 3, today, what did I teach the right use of in love? If we adopt these 3 Common Core standards, the outcomes that we can expect is to see a new heart and a new world emerge in just a few years, a golden age of peace. And so I would add, we can ask those questions to ourselves. What did I do to prepare my heart to be inspired? What vision of great things did I give to myself to hope for? And what did I teach the right use of or learn the right use of in love? I think that summarizes it really well, that if we use our time to do those 3 things, then we'll be enough. We'll accomplish great things and that will prepare our children's hearts to feel this golden age of peace.
I love it. Thank you. I'm typing this up in the comments. But again, it's on page 94 from the volume 1, and that's just beautiful. Linnell, thank you so much. Yeah, it's interesting because I definitely was directed to give you guys those other pages to read. But the ones in between there, I felt so sad skipping them because they were so meaningful and beautiful to me. So I think hopefully you learned from this that it is so important. You've got to follow the Spirit and go where you're led. Read, listen to, watch the videos on Well Educated Heart, your scriptures, whatever it is that you're going to follow the Spirit and go where you're led. It's going to be different for each one of us. We're all going to be able to pull wonderful things from a common subject, material, whatever. But the Lord's going to direct you to exactly what you need in your life, in your heart right now. So trust in that process and go find it. And then if it was meaningful to you, share it. I love the example of Linnell and Cadence becoming accountability partners in this new thing that they were trying to get better at. And I've seen that with others of you as you've done like the meditation and being accountability partners. Take advantage of this wonderful group of friends that Heavenly Father has gifted to you right now as you're needing support in different areas of your life. We're all here for each other, and we're each here for different reasons. And I do believe, especially looking at all of you that are here right now, I do believe that you're being trained for something, for what comes next. And I don't know how soon that will come up, but I know that it's coming. So take advantage of this time of learning and seeing from watching each other's lives, just gaining everything that you can so that you're more prepared for what's coming. So thank you so much. Have an amazing weekend. Have a fabulous week, and I'll see you again next Friday.